Surely the scribes and translators missed the mark when they transcribed this one. Well, before we do, as Thomas Jefferson once did, and cut out the parts of the Bible we disagree with, don't like, or have difficulty understanding, let's look at how some of the terms in this parable might help it be better understood. First, there's the reason this manager was in trouble with his master in the first place. He was accused of squandering the master's property. The word here for squandering is the same one used in the parable of the prodigal son, where the prodigal son squandered his inheritance in dissolute living. But if we look at the original word in Greek, the term literally means to scatter. And while scattering one's property or money might seem like squandering, think back to the parable of the sower, who scatters his seed far and wide, even on paths and on bad soil. While this might be considered a wasteful use of seed to most farmers, when we consider sowing the seeds of God's grace and love in our world, it is never wrong to squander it, never wrong to scatter it far and wide, even in unlikely places. Now, we don't know how the manager was squandering his master's property. We don't know whether he was indeed an incompetent manager or just wasn't going after the really high profit and often unscrupulous means of making money that his master may have desired. We don't know whether he was stealing property for himself and his own high standard of living, whether he was giving property away to those in need. We don't know. The parable doesn't tell us. It doesn't even allude to it. Now, to assume that the manager was this good guy who was just misunderstood by his greedy master is probably a stretch. And though it does make for a better parable, we need to be careful about inserting what isn't there into the story, just to make the passage easier to teach and hear and feel good about. Another difficult part of this parable is that after the manager is told that he is being dismissed, he basically steals from his master by allowing the master's debtors to reduce their debts with the flick of a pen, thus ingratiating this about-to-be unemployed manager with other businessmen in the community. This is why many employers these days would rather give someone 2 weeks of severance pay and have them out the door immediately than give them any kind of notice that they're being let go. To leave a disgruntled employee in place might cause more harm to the company. Yet in our parable, the master commends the manager for his shrewdness. Shrewdness. That's another word to take a closer look at. In the original Greek, it means thoughtful planning or being wise, especially with regard to the future. Certainly the manager is shrewd in that sense. He has secured his future by making several local businessmen indebted to him. It is his shrewdness that is being commended by the master, not his dishonesty. A fine distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. Not unlike how we can appreciate a child's artistic painting even while being upset that it was painted on the living room wall. Now we come to the statement I mentioned at the beginning. Make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth. First, we need to consider what Jesus might mean by dishonest wealth. Profit made at another's expense would likely fit into this category. In Jesus' day, that might include those who profited from usurious interest rates charged to those who could least afford it. A while back, we might have thought about the banks and investment firms that made profits at the expense of the rest of the economy. Today, we might also think of payday and title loan lenders who hide high interest rates by using the term fees. But what about a lottery winner? Their gain is from the losses, albeit small ones, from many, many, many other people. I don't know that I would call that dishonest wealth, but it really wasn't earned wealth either. Perhaps a better phrase than dishonest wealth could be unearned, unexpected, or even undeserved or excessive wealth. Think of the parable of the man who had the really big crop one year and all he could think to do with it was build bigger barns to store it in. But what Jesus says to do with this wealth is make friends for yourselves. In other words, spread such wealth around. Share it with others. Give it to those who might need a little help. It is through the sharing of worldly wealth, rather than storing it up for ourselves, that can make a difference in this world. And if we can make a difference in this world, this finite, temporary home we call Earth, by using our worldly wealth, however large or small that wealth may be, however legitimate or dishonest that wealth may be, whether that wealth was earned or unexpected, then we are ready to be good and faithful stewards of the riches that come from God, the true riches spoken of in our gospel lesson, the riches of abundant love and mercy and kindness that we have been given not only for ourselves, but to share with all the people of this world. Amen.